Wait, so no Empire, no clone troops, and no Sith? Well, what the hell do the Jedi face? Space Mad Max, Road Warriors. Well, do I at least get laser swords? All right, I'm in. It's the Super Not Funny Show. Ba-da-da. Hey again, all you Fabricans and Fleshbags. Once again, it's I, Mo, They Poupée, coming back to you with a new episode of the Super Not Funny Show. That's the show where we talk all things pop culture, mainly TV, movies, some comics and books, whatever floats our boat around here. Last week, we talked about Star Wars The High Republic, and some other things that's happening with Star Wars in the year, but mostly The High Republic. This week, this is a bit of a sequel episode where we are going to be talking about the first wave of material coming from The High Republic. A couple books and a comic book. So that ought to be fun. We'll cover that later on in our main segment. We're also going to talk about all the news that is fit to talk about. Well, probably not all of it. That's way too much. But some of the things that stood out in our minds and new threads. And we'll follow it up at the very end with our weekly distractions. So buckle up, boyos and girlos, I guess. And other non-binary O's, all of you people, all you Fabricans and Fleshbags, just itching to hear about some pop culture news. Buckle up, we're getting off. we're getting off. We're going off. Oh man, Super Not Funny Show starting off to an auspicious beginning already. So, why don't we check out those new threads? I'm singing a lot because for some reason I want to sing. Yeah. New threads. New threads are where we talk about the news that is, I guess, bubbling up and causing us to think a lot. This week, there's a ton of news, ton of real world news. F that stuff. We don't want to talk about that. That's where we come to escape. So instead, we're going to talk about the really important stuff, entertainment news. We're big fans of movies and TV, and there's a lot of movie and TV stuff this week. For instance, we've seen a lot of the CW stuff has started to migrate over to HBO Max, so HBO Max is getting a lot more compelling. But in addition, HBO Max is also figuring out their whole everything's going to HBO Max instead of to the theaters. Well, not instead of to the theaters, but simultaneously at the theaters. They said all that stuff real brazenly at the start of the year, and a lot of people weren't too happy about that, particularly people they work with. So what we're starting to hear is that HBO has come up with some compensation plans for their their movie making partners and the directors and everyone, people who have skin in the game, if you will, incentives to make sure the movies perform well at the box office. And it's based on box office returns, and a lot of them stand to lose some money. So as they should have, they raised a big stink about it. But it seems now that HBO is looking like they will compensate by treating every single movie that comes out this year directly to HBO Max as if it were a blockbuster. And the compensation packages will go accordingly. Now, I suspect, I'm no expert, but if I were them, I would take this as a win because, to be honest, whether or not a movie is, a blockbuster, it's pretty fucking hard to do. It's hard to do when you're good at your job, much less, sucking it up. So, see also Wonder Woman 84, which is a good enough movie, but I really doubt it would have made $1 billion. I really, really doubt that. So, they're more or less looking at this to kind of stop the bleeding, if you will. I also suspect that this is going to forestall any particular or potential litigation that could bog everything down and fuck up the whole release schedule. So that's good news on that front. Still means we're probably going to end up getting a lot of things on HBO Max this year, which is great. Looking forward to that, actually. Next month, the February movie looks pretty good. But speaking of going to HBO Max and theaters at the same time, HBO Max and Legendary have also worked out a deal to get Kong vs. Godzilla onto HBO Max and in theaters at the same time. They have it sounds like they've worked out some kind of compensation situation to help Legendary recoup their costs and maybe make a little money on top of it. And HBO Max gets an exclusive movie. And Netflix just has to cry in the corner because no matter how much money they threw at it, they couldn't get it. So that's cool. We also hear that they are negotiating on Dune. So it's supposed to come out into December. I'm hoping Dune will just be in the theaters because hopefully by then we'll have all this stuff sort of worked out and everyone can go back to the theaters. I think Dune is definitely going to be an actual big picture, big picture. It's something that actually needs to be seen on the movie screen to be, worthwhile. Other big news has to do with the MCU this week. Real quick, we'll touch on them. WandaVision premieres on Disney Plus, and to some fanfare, it's the first MCU TV show, first real MCU TV show, and it's a prestige premiere, whatever you kind of call it, kind of show. We have seen some reactions, pretty positive reactions, and more pouring in all the time. And in fact, the Super Not Funny show, my impressions of the first two episodes are going to be available shortly on the channel, so go check that out. That's good news for the MCU, and also we hear tell that all of the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to show up in Thor 4, which, no shit, they were all together at the end of Endgame. Of course, they're probably going to be together for this, but I hear tell that the actors are actually showing up on set, so that is cool. So Thor Love and Thunder, I do believe is coming out next year. Highly anticipated, looking forward to that. And of course, the huge elephant in the room is the bombshell. Is it really a bombshell? Are we too surprised by this? I'm not. I mean, is fucking Shield still in the MCU? He's probably still in there. That's right. Chris Evans in talks to reprise his role as Captain America at least in one film, possibly more. One can only hope. Yeah, huge news. Everyone loves Cap. Everyone loves Chris Evans. This is great. I guess he just decided, I don't have enough dump trucks full of money. I need a few more. Kevin Feige, can you hook me up? Hook me up, dog. Come on, I needs that cash. And also, I guess people like me. So there's one of I guess not Dead Avenger, but Avenger off the table who's going to come back. 2 more to go. Yeah, not holding my breath for Black Widow and Robert Downey Jr. I think he's licking his wounds after that disaster of Doolittle. Or maybe he just wants to feel loved again. Maybe we'll see him again. We'll see. I think it's pretty cool. Love Cap. Love to see him back. I just want to see. Honestly, I just want to hear the justification. I don't care if he could be Old Man Cap. I would love a whole movie where it's just Chris Evans, old man Captain America, slinging that shield around and maybe catching it this time. We hope so. You know, he's walking around smelling like liniment and kicking all the Hydra ass. I think that'd be sweet. So, hey, we're all for it. Glad to see it. I just want to see how that pans out. So, Of course, there were other news items this week, too many to cover, but if you think there was some that I missed or that I should have covered, you know the drill. Hit me up down in the comments, or you can email me at supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com or on Twitter, supernotfunnys1. Hit me up. All right, those were the new threads for the week. And now we move on to our main segment, the High Republic First Wave. All right, we're at the main topic for the week, and that is Star Wars, the High Republic's first wave of new books and comics. Last week we did cover what the High Republic was going to be about in Star Wars for 2021. So this week we've had a chance to check out a few of the offerings from the High Republic, and we're going to talk all about them, let you know what we think about them, and if they're worth your time. So anyway, well, what's the High Republic in the first place? Well, on the 5th of January 2021, Lucasfilm launched a new print publishing initiative that they called the High Republic. Its aim was to craft a sprawling high adventure saga in a time period that was separate from the well-known, well-trodden Skywalker saga. And the main idea, the promise, if you will, was new heroes, some new villains, new ships we had never seen before, and new planets we've never explored. To that end, the Lucasfilm Story Group worked with a set of writers to craft this whole storyline, the entire set piece. So, and the authors in question are Charles Soule, who, if you read Star Wars comics, is an old hand at Star Wars. Claudia Gray, also known for some YA Star Wars stuff. Justine Ireland, admittedly, I don't know too much about her. And Kevin Scott, likewise. They brought them in to write books and comics to tie in to the High Republic era. So, is the High Republic a huge cash grab? Is it the MCUization? Or rather, the MCU is more like a version of the comics where many, many products all tie into the same storyline. But I like the MCUization because it just sounds more fun. Or is it just a big ambitious storyline? And I say maybe a little bit of all. As I said before, I am a comics fan, and hey, I learned many years ago that in order to see the whole storyline, you have to buy all of the story parts. So I see what you're doing there, Lucasfilm. I see what you're doing. And God dang it, Marvel Comics and DC Comics, you effectively trained me to expect and accept this stuff. So this crap better be good. I'm messing around. They really put a lot of work into this, and I suppose your mileage may vary, but hey, they try very hard to craft a storyline that is cohesive and makes sense and introduces interesting things into the Star Wars canon. And this is canon, by the way, so worry not. I don't think it'll be stepping on any toes, though. That's what the Lucasfilm Story Group is for. So, as of now, the High Republic is set to step into the light. First out of the gate, the flagship title, if you will, the introductory chapter, and quite literally the products that's going to set the tone for the entirety of the High Republic, is Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule, an adult novel of the Star Wars universe. Way to start with a bang. That's all I could say. It literally, actually, as the opening of this book, at the opening of this book, it's an unheard of in the Star Wars universe hyperspace disaster that sends lightspeed debris into what apparently is the breadbasket of the Outer Rim, and it threatens the lives of over 40 billion beings within that star system. And what follows from there for the first third of that book is a harrowing romp of high stakes and high heroism that is worthy of any kind of space opera. The Republic and the Jedi they bring with them are hard charging, no man left behind, selfless rescuers. There's no lack of heroism and daring do on the part of the various people that are showcased in this part of the book. The Jedi in particular are like the stuff of legend. They are the Jedi that we all hoped for when we first heard about them from Obi-Wan Kenobi. They use the Force in ways we hadn't thought of to attempt miraculous things. A miracle, in fact, possibly one of the most epic uses of the Force I've ever witnessed in any of the Star Wars medium. It's one of the greatest moments I've ever seen in Star Wars. And this part of the book, it's shot through with a sense of hope and determination, and this phrase that you're going to get used to hearing throughout this book and the series: "We are all the Republic," and it's said with true belief. So that happened in the first third of the book, and from there the story unfolds as we learn more about the repercussions of this great disaster. Now, no great story is complete, at least especially in this situation, high fantasy / sci-fi, would ever be complete without great villains. And honestly, at first you'd be right to wonder what's so special about the Nihil. That's spelled Nihil, which, by the way, quite on the nose. The usage of that name, Nihil, if you know anything about English language, it's really, come on, just make up something more alien sounding. But they're the Nihil, so we just got to roll with it. And I could only describe them as Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome in space. Like, almost literally, Beyond Thunderdome in space. These the way they're portrayed, depicted, like everyone's got on ridiculous headgear and all sorts of stylized war paint and stuff like that. They're like Vikings or Visigoths or something like that. They are almost, if you look at it, they are supposed to be the barbarians at the gates trying to knock down civilization, and all they're out there just doing it for the loot and do what the F they want. I mean, that's their thing. So, but what separates them from any other pirate gang or gang of marauders? At first glance they wouldn't be that different, except for there's a lot of them and they have a reputation. But as the book proceeds, the threat of the Nihil slowly but surely reveals itself, in that they have special technology that lets them move around in ways other people can't. And more alarmingly, at least we the readers realize that they have a cunning and ruthless wannabe leader with a big plan, and his name is Marchion Ro, who has apparently been content to be a side partner, but in this book decides to level himself up. This man's coldly calculating and has so little regard for other life that he will put a Sith to shame. Seriously, when you get to the end of this book, the revelations are really quite stunning. And it really sets the tone for exactly the kind of bad guy the Jedi and the Republic are going to be facing. Just based on all that, it becomes pretty clear that it may seem like the Republic has the clear advantage, but it's way less one-sided than it appears, and the Outer Rim isn't the only place that's going to be feeling the wrath of the Nihil. It's clear that Charles Soule is having a ball, an absolute ball, crafting this sprawling story, because that's what this story is, sprawling. It captures every kind of Star Wars excitement that you would expect, with at times a dash of Star Trek command center drama and a nice helping of underworld intrigue. The action set pieces range from lightsaber combat to gigantic space battles, and a little bit everywhere in between. I believe there's even a kidnapping. It's just strange in there, but it is. Force or no force, everyone gets to shine a little. It's clear, however, that the Jedi and their formidable reputation are a central pillar, perhaps the central pillar, of this story. And it's a very strong pillar at that. They are often, very often, miracle workers, and the people expect them to be so. There is a really, and especially particularly moving and really, really awesome scene that fans of Dragon Ball Z will see some shades of Goku's Spirit Bomb in the execution of this particular action set piece. But it's really, really, really cool. Soule skillfully weaves smaller stories among the survivors and rescuers, letting you know who everyone is and how they fit into the story. You actually like these characters, which makes the inevitable truth that not everyone can live hit so much harder. As the opening chapter in the High Republic, Light of the Jedi starts the threads for many characters that will obviously begin crisscrossing through the other works. It becomes clear that anyone's on the table to be, I suppose, liquidated. And that really makes the stakes serious and high, and really drives home that the Nihil aren't just a joke. They aren't going to be pushed over. And that Jedi are not infallible. That, in fact, they can, even with the Force, perish. And I think that's very important, because I think the High Republic at its zenith is what's supposed to be on display. And I suppose cracks in that veneer starts to show as a result of this conflict. Now, I've been, I suppose, waxing rhapsodic about this, and I make no mistake, I love the hell out of this book. But it's not all roses. It's not all perfect. There are some bits that bother me a bit, some things that I didn't like so much. For the epic nature of the first part, the middle third, which is dominated by smaller stories and some world building, it just feels a little sluggish and underwhelming. It's like you've been in a Formula One car for like 2 hours, and then suddenly you have to get into a golf cart. Well, that's not being fair. Like you have to get into a Hyundai, which they both get you to where you need to go. They're very important, but it was just such a change of pace and such a change of tone. Not bad on its own, but next to that more exciting first part does stand out. As much as I said the Nihil need to be great bad guys, I don't think they are great bad guys in this instance. Marchion Ro is a great bad guy. The Nihil are a clumsy, sometimes effective club that he uses against the High Republic, the Republic. They feel a lot like video game bad guys, to be honest. They feel like bad guys that if you were going around in some sci-fi shooter or RPG, you would just be mowing these guys down. Aside from their numbers and the fact that they use unconventional tactics, they don't seem all that formidable. Um, and it's weird because the Nihil is supposed to be a real existential threat to the Republic. Um, so I'm hoping that will be rehabilitated as the series goes forward. The story is also very Jedi heavy, which is good if you like Jedi, but if you also like to see other people and what they do, and I suspect if you are coming here from The Mandalorian, you are thinking, wow, there's a lot of damn Jedi in here. Where the hell are the Mandalorians? Where are anybody else that actually can kick ass? And the only people that apparently can kick ass besides the Jedi are like pilots in space. But it is what it is. It is called Light of the Jedi after all. But if you want to see more of the other people other than the bad guys, you'll be somewhat disappointed. The cast is huge, well, relatively large, so it's sometimes difficult to remember who's doing what, where, and who they're with. Um, Soul does some work trying to make sure you keep it all in line, but I take it that you're probably going to have to read this a couple times to really get it, the understanding about where everyone is. But that said, again, enjoyed the hell out of this. Light of the Jedi, I think, is just what the High Republic initiative needs. That's a winning entry, a great start into this golden era. It's sprawling and engaging, but not overly cluttered. Feels like it truly belongs in the Star Wars canon, and that this High Republic era is one that's ripe for high adventure. I highly recommend it. And also highly recommend that you check out the audiobook, which is like listening to a Star Wars movie. It's the next best thing you're going to get to an actual High Republic movie or TV show or whatever. Great voice acting, great voice cast, great sound effects. I think it's the best way to enjoy this particular story. So that is Light of the Jedi. Next up, A Test of Courage by Justina Ireland. The award for not sugarcoating anything goes to A Test of Courage. It's a young reader's story with all of the life or death stakes, character revealing choices, and brutal bad guys of the adult novel Light of the Jedi. But instead of a sprawling narrative with a multi-page cast of characters, A Test of Courage focuses on a small group of survivors of a spaceship disaster braving the hostile elements on a forest moon. Among them, an ambassador's taciturn son, a senator's genius daughter, her surly nanny droid, an unsure Padawan, and the youngest Jedi Knight in a century. This book was a surprise, both in its unflinching description of tragedy and its willingness to explore deep emotional issues. Characters struggle with grief, loss, insecurity, fear, and rage. Even the Jedi aren't immune, and as the situation becomes more desperate, the lure of negativity pulls strongly. Yet the book still makes the case for hope, friendship, mercy, understanding, and love. These explorations into these characters elevates what would otherwise be a fairly rote science fiction story for kids. Ireland succeeds most in showing who these characters are and making you root for their success. At the end, you can't help but like them and hope to see more of them. For much of the story, the environment is the enemy, but as this is a High Republic story, the Nihil must be somewhere near the action. Unfortunately, the two Nihil characters have no real depth to them, depicted only as greedy, murderous, and fearful. Having a full-fledged Jedi Knight on hand, the little challenge they present stems more from the foolishness of the young protagonists than actually being formidable. They do, however, instigate a very well-presented fall from grace plot between the Padawan and the Jedi Knight, the resolution of which was very emotional and very well earned. I would have liked a longer story and better bad guys, but those shortcomings are more than compensated by the deft touch with which Ireland presents the protagonists and their internal journeys. This book has tragedy, adventure, huge stakes, and most of all, huge heart. These are people you want to follow on adventures, and the promise is definitely there for years to come. Do not sleep on this book. Um, yeah, it's huge surprise. Big, 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 big surprise. I was expecting a kid's book, and I got way more than a kid's book. So, and there was some, I guess I would say, standard choices. Like, for instance, uh, the nanny bot, which, by the way, who decided that making a murder bot into a nanny was a good idea? I'm looking at you, Mandalorian, even though it was really awesome in Mandalorian. But even more, the girl she's a nanny to is a genius and makes her a surly ass murder bot nanny too. It's who thinks this is a good idea? And those the Nihil, what are they thinking about? Like, this isn't look, this isn't the Skywalker saga where there's two Jedi at any given time. This is there are literally Jedi all over the place. Who thinks, oh, there's two Jedi, we could totally take them? What? Who's thinking about that? That dumbass people who want to get lightsabered in the face, apparently. So, but like I said, huge surprise, and I love this book. I would totally recommend it, no matter how old you are. But at least as you're at least 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. That's what it's aiming for, but older than that, still a very satisfying story. And finally, we have Star Wars: The High Republic comic book from Marvel Comics by writer Kevin Scott, artist Ariel Anindito, inker Mark Morales, and colorist Annalisa Leone. The first comic outing in this new initiative, Star Wars: The High Republic, had two big jobs. One, to be the visual complement to the powerhouse first novel of the High Republic publishing initiative, Light of the Jedi, and to tell its own compelling story without being overshadowed by Light of the Jedi. On the first objective, it definitely succeeds. Ariel Anindito, Mark Morales, and Annalisa Leone breathe life into this sci-fi world. Anindito proves to be quite as adept at expressive faces and kinetic body movement as he is at big aliens and sleek futuristic technology. Kudos also to Morales on the inks. His style actually evokes the feel of the prequels, which, as you will remember, is the last years of the Republic. Leone's colors seem to be bathed in bright sunlight, a subtle touch to hint at this golden age of the Jedi. Overall, the art is cohesive, just wonderful to look at, and really fits with what we are expecting from this tale of high adventure and the Jedi. Did it succeed in the storytelling, though? It's early days yet in this 6-part series, but this is definitely a good way to start. We learn all we need to know about Keeve Trennis, a Padawan taking her Jedi trials, by the halfway point of the issue, and by the end you're rooting for her. Other Jedi are featured, and if you read Light of the Jedi, you will recognize them. There's even a Yoda cameo. The Republic at its height is on full display, and it is awe-inspiring, especially the dedication of the Starlight Beacon space station. While the main story was a bit light, an introduction, other mysteries are foreshadowed, such as the distress of Master Skier, whose trauma in the wake of the events of Light of the Jedi aren't just physical. Kevin Scott is laying breadcrumbs, and I, for one, am eager to see where they lead. Definitely recommend this one, especially if you're wanting to get the complete story of the High Republic at this starting point. I will note that everything's not great about it. There's some silliness to this, but when isn't there silliness in the Star Wars universe? There's some questionable use of lightsabers. Like, it's weird that lightsabers are sometimes like able to cut through things like they are butter and it's a hot knife, and other times it stopped seemingly and it works like just a regular sword. It's very strange. how that works out. Um, there's in a story world full of phallic symbols, man, the Starlight Beacon, it's like the hugest. um, and it is interesting that one thing I noticed actually about all of the High Republic is just how varied all of the Jedi really are. They have their own personalities and quirks, and they see the Force in weird, different ways, and what one considers normal activity or behavior for a Jedi, other people's frown on. And there's just so many of them that there's a lot of diversity of Jedi. And Keith Trennis is no different. You get a sense, if especially if you've seen Star Trek Discovery, there's a bit of Michael Burnham in her, but I'm convinced that she's forging her own path. This is probably just me having watched Star Trek recently. But one interesting thing about her is that she curses, and we have never seen a Jedi that cusses. So I'm interested to see more little ticks like that in her. So, but overall, check the comic out. It's really good. I think you'll like it. Now, there was one more book of the first releases of the High Republic that I just didn't get to because I couldn't get it digital, and it's a kid's picture book. So I may check it out if I go to the store, but still. But it, other than that, other than that particular book, I've checked all of them out. It's a strong, strong start to the High Republic. As my understanding at this recording, they are the two books are going to number one and number two on the New York Times bestseller. Which, I mean, it's not a lot of things do that, but still, very interesting. The comic is going to third printing, so clearly this has struck a nerve. It is very, very, very much a Star Wars story. All the feels that you get from Star Wars movies, you'll get from this. Star Wars publishing is strong right now, especially with this entry into the publishing world. So I enjoy it. I'm looking forward to the next book coming out next month, next comic that starts next month. And as soon as those hits, I will be sure to share my thoughts about them. So that's the High Republic. Did you get a chance to check it out? What did you think about them? Maybe you have different opinion than I do. Why don't you share it down in the comments or hit us up in the email supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com or on Twitter supernotfunnys1. Now we move on to our next segment. That's going to be weekly distractions. Whoa. It's the weekly distraction squirrel. All right. Hey, everybody, this is Weekly Distractions. And that's where we talk about everything that we've been using to distract ourselves away from the, let's admit it, kind of shitty little world around us right now. I mean, we all need a little something. We all need a little something to keep us distracted away from that foolishness. So, what have I been distracting myself with? Well, over the last weekend, binge watched all of Star Trek Discovery Season 3. And let me just say, loved it. Favorite season of the show so far. I won't say too much more because I fully intend to do a season review very soon. Actually, I suppose it's one of my upcoming videos, I guess, in the next week. Just a lot to cover on that, but really good. You should check it out, CBS All Access. Also, on the streaming tip, been given Solar Opposite to try on Hulu. Not sure I'm going to keep up with it. It's fun. It's got an interesting concept. It's just not all that. It's not super funny. It's got its moments, but it's not super funny. I understand it's getting a season 2. Good for it. I just don't know if it's for me. And on a similar note, I don't know if The Great North is for me either. Tried to watch the first episode, not interested. So, 2 swings, 2 strikes on adult animated humor. Also binge watched History of Swear Words, which was a quick binge, in fact, on Netflix. That's the one where Nicolas Cage is kind of a host, narrator, whatever you want to call it, for a bunch of comedians and linguists to talk about where swear words come from. Pretty interesting. Not as funny as I wanted it to be, which is strange. So many comics, not as funny as I think it should be, but had a lot of interesting stuff in there. It's a worthwhile usage of a couple hours, I think. Also caught the premiere of WandaVision, and again, have some reviews for that coming up, so I'm not going to go too much into it, but it's MCU. You should check it out. I mean, it's going to be a quality product either way. And of course, I'm still watching The Stand, and as with WandaVision, you can check out reviews for it on the channel. This upcoming week, I'm trying to find something to binge, and maybe Nancy Drew. I just looked at that, and I may watch a few things. HBO Max got some cool stuff. I don't know. I don't have any real plans. I do want to play some more Street Fighter, because I got Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Edition. I want to play some more of that. I want to try to pick up the controller and maybe play some Smash Brothers. So, got plenty to try to distract myself with when I'm not working on the show. So, what are you guys distracting yourselves with? Why don't you hit me up in the comments or email supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com or on Twitter @supernotfunnys1 and tell me how you're distracting yourself. All right. With all that covered, we move on to the end of the show. The end, the end, the end. Oh, that's on the edge. Whatever. Well, thank you, everyone, all you Fabricans and Fleshbags, for joining me on the Super Not Funny Show this week. Hope you had a good time. Maybe you learned something. Maybe you saw something that you want to check out. Whatever it is, we hope you got something out of this. And we always want to make this show better than it was before. So we would love to hear your feedback, constructive criticism. Maybe you just want to tell us that we suck. I don't know. If that's the sort of life you want to live, I guess you can do that. Either way, want to hear from you. Comment. Also, you can hit the like button. You can hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you'll know whenever we post new content here. Email us on Gmail, supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter @supernotfunnys1. Yes, I keep saying that over and over again. Hit me up. I want to hear from you. All right, that has been the Super Not Funny Show for this week. We hope you can join us again on the next show where we will be talking about, I'm assuming, Star Trek Discovery, but could be something else. We'll see. Either way, come back and join us for the next show. Till then, all you Fabricans and Fleshbags, we'll see you on the other side of the thread. I've been Mo They Poupée. Peace.